What's up, everybody? This is Kerry. In this video, I'm going to give you my best bets for the conference championships of the NFL playoffs. Now, last week in the divisional round, we went 3-2, 60% win rate, and we earned about 0.85 units. So for the playoffs so far, we're 6-5, 54.5%, and have earned 0.49 units. A quick recap of the divisional round. We picked all unders, 4 different unders here, for all 4 games in divisional round, and that went 2-2. Not too bad. Like I said, even 50% in a very tight, highly focused number of games here is a pretty good record. But a really nice positive that came out of this is the following. I mentioned this in my video last week, and I said here, basically, any home favorites in divisional round of 6+ points or more, which there was 3 of them, they won 86.7% of the time. In fact, we did a money line parlay where we put all 3 Ravens, 49ers, and Lions on the money line together at plus 107 odds, and that won. Here are our conference championships best bets. Now, I'm going to do a little bit different analysis this week because we only have 2 games, and because the sample size for 2 games over 8 seeds, that's only 16, is rather small. Some of these trends look pretty good, and other times they don't look good. So I am going to show you one trend here that I like a lot, but I'm also going to show you just a good old traditional game analysis breakdown. So here's the first game. We got Baltimore Ravens at home, minus 3.5 against the Kansas City Chiefs coming off the road for 2 weeks in a row. When you look at who they beat in the first round, the Miami Dolphins, they had a really injured, banged up defense. The next round, divisional round last week against the Buffalo Bills, that was on the road in Buffalo, another very banged up defense. Now, I'm not discounting the wins here, but what I am saying is the defenses that Kansas City faced in the first 2 rounds were really banged up. But what about this round, conference championships? We have the Baltimore Ravens, number 1 seed, top defense in the league, and they're pretty daggone healthy. I feel very confident that the Ravens will win this game and that the Chiefs are going to struggle. Now, the Chiefs have a second-ranked defense, so they have an excellent defense too. In fact, with that said, there might be very few points in this game. I could see this game going under. I did not pick the under for this game, but that was definitely a lean. With that said, I'm going to go back to what I just did in the previous round, divisional round. Pick number 1. When we look at home favorites of 3.5 points or more in the conference championships that win the game, that's 85.7% from 2015 to 2022. And when I say 3 of 4 season hit rate, what that means is there's only 4 seasons where this particular trend existed. So one more time, I'm going back to the well here. I'm going to do the Ravens money line and the 49ers money line. It's my very first pick here. Combine those 2 together, I got odds at plus 105. I really like this bet, and I just told you why I liked it for the Ravens versus the Chiefs. Let me talk a little bit more about the 49ers. So for the second game here, we have the Lions visiting the 49ers, and the 49ers are number 1 seed, obviously. And when you look at the games that were played last weekend, Brock Purdy looked pretty shaky. He overthrew a lot of players, a lot of receivers. I know that it was raining. He had a glove on and he took it off. A lot of things were going on here. And Brock Purdy had an excellent year. In fact, he's made the Pro Bowl this year. Excellent. It's great. However, when you look at the playoffs and look at Jared Goff's record, he took the Rams to the Super Bowl. Now, that was back in 2019. Goff has won a conference championship. Brock Purdy has been in only 2 playoff games in his career. And because of this shakiness I saw him last weekend, and because of something else we're going to talk about here in just a second, I really feel like, as far as playoffs go, that Jared Goff will outperform Brock Purdy. In other words, I think Jared Goff is going to be the stronger quarterback in this game. Anyways, not only do I think Jared Goff is a better playoff performer, will be more experienced, more poised than Brock Purdy, I also think that playoff Fogue is better than playoff Purdy. We also have what's probably the most essential and most pivotal offensive player for the 49ers, even though they have McCaffrey and Kittle, and of course Brock Purdy, and then Brandon Ayuk. Deebo is a very unique player, as everyone knows. In fact, I love Deebo Samuel. He's one of my favorite players in the entire league. I love the way he plays. He plays 100% all the time. He gives everything he has. And that really is a big plus for the 49ers. With him, they were 12-1 this year. Without Deebo, or with a limited Deebo, there were 2 weeks that he was injured. They lost both of those games. And in the game where he got injured against Cleveland, he only played like the first quarter. And the very last game of the season, that's the other loss. Of course, that was they were resting a lot of starters. He only had 20 snaps. So without Deebo Samuel, that's going to make it even more difficult for Brock Purdy. So there's a lot of question marks I have here with the San Francisco 49ers. It doesn't mean I don't think they're going to win. In fact, I do hope they win. However, the line +7 for the Lions, I think that's way too high. I think that's way too much for the San Francisco 49ers. In fact, what I'm going to do is the following. This is my second pick. I'm going to take the Lions +5.5 at the 49ers. I'm going to bring it back down a little bit so I get positive odds on the far right here. So I think the Lions are going to make this a closer game, which I feel very strongly that that will happen. And if that does happen, I'm going to win another plus bet, which would be awesome. So let's think about this for just a second. I just picked the Ravens and the 49ers to win in the moneyline parlay. And now I'm picking the Lions to go +5.5. So it looks almost like I'm making two opposite bets. This is not quite what we call a hedge bet, but it's kind of like pseudo hedge, or it's like kind of in that same vein. And basically what this means here is I think the 49ers are going to win, but I think it's going to be a much, much closer game than what the odds makers are putting it at. And with that said, both of these bets can definitely win. This is not a either or situation like a lot of hedge bets. So I'm betting that the 49ers are going to win, but only by a smaller margin. With that said, let's look at the possible outcomes here. Now, this doesn't mean that we're going to lose everything or lose big here. In fact, I'm really actually doing this for a couple of reasons. I think the Lions are better than what they're given credit for. And I also think that the 49ers are strong, but they're going to struggle against the Lions here. So if we have here this San Francisco wins by 6+ points and then Baltimore wins here is on the top row, then the first bet, the first pick, both teams wins, and we get to turn a little bit of a profit there. However, the second bet, pick number 2, does not win. So because I picked the plus money, though, that plus money will cover the second bet and give me a little bit of a profit. Here is the dream scenario. San Francisco wins by 1 to 5 points and Baltimore wins. That means I win both of my bets, which is great. That's what I'm rooting for. The last thing here, San Francisco could flat out lose. That means that the Lions won, and in fact, they covered the spread. So pick number 2 would win. The nightmare scenario for me here would be that Baltimore loses and San Francisco covers the spread. In that case, neither of those picks win, and it's just 2 losses. I'll go 0-2. However, if Baltimore loses and San Francisco wins by 1 to 5 points, pick number 2 still wins. And if Baltimore loses and San Francisco loses, then pick number 2 wins. This does not mean that I have 5 out of 6 chances of winning. In fact, some of these squares here that you're looking at here have a higher probability than others. When I said in the earlier slide that a home favorite of 3.5 points or more during the conference championships wins at 85% or more, what you actually do is take those two probabilities, multiply them together, we get something just over 70%. So the fact that I want both San Francisco and Baltimore to win means that 70% covers these 2 squares. So I'm a little bit higher up here, which is where I want to be. That makes the second square here, my dream scenario, hopefully a higher probability of happening than the bottom part here where Baltimore loses. I'll be back here next week to brag about it if it happens. So as always, good luck, have fun, let's go.